Hi, Adrienne.
Hello.
So I want to kind of start the conversation asking a question that I've asked everyone is, if you could go back in time to 18-year-old Adrienne, what advice would you give her?
Wow, it was a long time ago. It was a long time ago. The advice that I would give her would be continue as you are. So obviously 18 is very different to who I am now, but I'd say continue as you are. Never, ever, ever stop learning. I'm a voracious learner. I don't think I started really learning as much in the way I do now until maybe 10 years ago. So I'd say keep learning, continue to be who you are. Don't dilute yourself or your ambition or your audacious goals. Yeah. I've always had big ambition. I've always had big goals. Yeah. I think for a period, maybe in my 20s, I think I started to dilute those. Okay. Because the world will tell you that they're too much or they're too big or you're too much or too big. And so I would say to her, don't dilute those ambitions.
Beautiful. What were the grand ambitions that you had at that time?
Well, at that time, they probably weren't so grand. But I think with everything that I do, if I'm honest, I just look and say, if I want to do something, I'm never kind of, I'll just start small, I'll just dabble, I'll just see. That's not in my vocabulary. My idea of trying something is pretty much, we're doing it, 100%. Okay. So, you know what I mean? So if I'm, you know, obviously I'm a runner, but to kind of, I guess, think about any example of a marathon, if I'm doing it, I'm doing the marathon version. I'm never just going to dabble. So yeah, I think back then, for context, when I was 18, I was actually, where was I? Just about to graduate from performing arts school. And I was going out into the big wide world of auditions. Oh, wow, Yeah, and I went into being in musicals in the West End. So it was it's like a double-sided thing, because you're kind of on the one hand being told to be confident, because of course to be on the stage, to go into auditions, you're a performer, you have to sing, dance, act, you have to quickly learn lines, quickly learn dance routines, you have to get very confident and thick-skinned with rejection or people saying, oh, you're too tall, or oh, you're too this, or next, that kind of thing. However, there's also that fine line, especially when you first graduate, and I certainly got told, I don't know if it's a stereotypical thing being a woman of colour, but people saying, oh, you can't be too confident, you look arrogant, you look full of yourself, don't be a diva. Yes. And you think, okay, don't be a diva, don't be full of yourself, don't be overconfident, but be confident, be a star. It's these contradictory things. So that's where I was when I was 18.
So then how did you get into the fitness industry? Like, what was that pivotal moment for you?
So I was in a musical in the West End called We Will Rock You. It's the Queen musical. It was on Tottenham Court Road. And I was there for almost 2 years. And during the time that I was there, I got married, I got pregnant with my son, and everything was going great. And of course, life just pulls the rug out from underneath you when you least expect it. So my husband at the time, he had a really serious health condition that just came out of nowhere. And so my whole life changed, all of my priorities changed, everything changed. I had to leave the show in an instant. I never went back from that day. So then, of course, those moments, I think challenging moments in life when people have accidents or health issues, you know, these scary moments in life really make us pause. And it sounds cliche, but it makes you really just go, what am I doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And after that pause, I had my son. So I was a new mum as well, and young. And I kind of just looked at what I was doing and thought, I want to do something. I've always been physical, because I used to do athletics and I'd done dance professionally. So I was always physical. And I think my innate talent, if I have one, that everyone has a different talent, right? Mine is the ability to motivate and encourage people. And it doesn't matter what domain, you know, whether that's in fitness, whether it's in business now, whether it's in any area or aspect of life. I am the person, if you tell me your goal, I will encourage you and help you make a plan to make it happen. So I always had this innate, I'm an encourager, I'm a professional encourager, that is my gift from God. And I thought, okay, I can encourage people, and I've always been physical, so it kind of felt like an obvious choice to train, to become a personal trainer at the time. And at the time I was focused on young mums me. I thought, not just young mums, any mums. I was like, actually, when you've just had a baby, the world's very different now as well when it comes to postnatal. But back then, this is 12, 13 years ago, I was just like, there's nothing. There was nothing. There was nothing for mums apart from maybe the odd very, very gentle yoga class. So it's like, just gently move. There was no, fitness boot camps, running, there was none of that. And I kind of thought, well, maybe there are some mums who want to move. So I kind of started off there. Yeah. But then very quickly was like, actually, anyone could access the things.
So did you like have a clear path or like a clear vision of where you was going to take your fitness business?
Initially, yes, but it changed. So as I say, if someone had asked me when I went to the YMCA in Cambridge and did my level 2, and then I went to I think I went somewhere else to do my level 3. And if someone had asked me then, I would have said, I'm going to be the postnatal fitness trainer. That's where I'm going to focus, because my world was that, because I just had a baby. But very quickly, I think I realised that the power of groups. So I started group training. I started my own boot camp. And this is back in the day when, honestly, people listening to this are going to be like, how old is she? But this is before we had Instagram, before we had, in terms of building something, it was so old school, Erin. I printed flyers. I printed flyers. I know the website that I went to, and I went with my son in the pushchair, and I put 1,000 flyers through people's doors, 1,000, and I got about 25 people that signed up, and I thought that was amazing. I was like, yes, I've got 25 women that come into my fitness boot camp. It's going to be amazing. And then from that first boot camp, I suppose, some people there said, well, what else do you do? You must be, do you do one-to-one? And it started in my local area. So, relatively small scale in terms of, I've sat here saying I've got all these big ambitions. But very quickly, I think I was just very, open to trying new things. So when things like Twitter and Instagram came along, or when any opportunities that came up, I said yes, even if I had no idea. Like, for example, if someone said to me, oh, can you come and lead a warm-up for a run, or can you come and do the 5k run? I wasn't the person to say, oh, no, I'm not a runner. I'd say, sure, okay. And so very quickly, within about a year, lots of opportunities started to come, because I was posting online. So I was posting on a blog at the time, I was posting on Facebook at the time, and I was posting, I think, maybe on Instagram. I think it just started. I probably had like 50 followers. But I just had this same consistent message, I think, which was about, I'm not preaching to you, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just showing people, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm doing it, I'm loving it, I'm a new mum, I want to move my body, and this is how I'm doing it. So when opportunities came, and I said yes, they were very serendipitous, and it would lead to something else, and something else, and something else. So within a couple of years, I won't go through all the steps, but I ended up, writing for publications, working with fitness brands like Adidas, and creating content for Facebook adverts, or for campaigns in stores, and it kind of all the things that people might see me doing lots of different things now, but it's always, there's never been one thing that just one night was this overnight success. Never. It's been incremental, saying yes, learning, saying yes.
So was you ever like intentional with, okay, I'm going to start off with these group classes, then I'm going to pivot here, then I'm going to go on to here. Like, was you ever intentional with what you was doing?
Not back then, but I think in more recent years, I've learned that you have to be. And I think the more intentional you can be, the more strategic you can be. People might not like that word, strategic, but it's business. I think being strategic. So, for example, if I was to give advice to somebody now who might look at all the variety of things that I do, I'm sure we can come on to rattling off some of the things I do now. But I would say to them, be strategic, have a plan, and be willing for that plan to change. But for example, if someone said to me, okay, I want to teach Pilates classes and I'm a Pilates instructor, I would say, great. What is it about your job that you enjoy, and what is it that you hate? Figure that out quickly. Then if you look at all the different ways in which you can teach Pilates, do you enjoy teaching one-to-one? Do you enjoy filming content to teach online? Do you enjoy traveling and teaching at resorts and places where you don't really know the people because you just meet them the first time? Do you enjoy working with beginners and getting them on that journey? Or do you enjoy working with advanced, elite, high performance, advanced level? Which is it? Because if you can figure those things out and then tell and show people what you do and who you are, how can you help them? Be as specific as you can, because if you're the person who says, I'm the Pilates coach who's going to work with runners to get them out of pain and into peak performance, I know who you are now and I know what you do. Just saying I'm a Pilates instructor is great, But if you give me the first one, I'm going to say, okay, I know exactly who you work with.
Yeah.
I know exactly who to come to you for. I know what to come to you for.
Yeah. So that sounds like very clear messaging. So would you say that's a learnt skill or something like you've just naturally been able to do?
I think it's a learnt skill because the world has changed.
Yeah.
So back then, as I'm joking, I had to put leaflets through doors. There wasn't personal brand.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what personal. Well, there were celebrities.
Yeah,
and there were coaches, and there were athletes, but there wasn't personal brands. So the world has changed. So therefore, I had to change. My business had to change. My mindset had to change.
Yeah.
And so I'd say now in the world of personal brand, people, and also let's be honest, in a world of fast consumption of media and saturation, people are impatient. They might not have 10 minutes for me to explain. They might want to just know, who are you, what do you do, what problem do you solve, or what value do you add, or who can you help, or what's your, even simpler than that, what's your goal? Yeah. What's your motivation to do what you do?
Did you feel like there's a kind of crossover between like selling yourself in an audition in your performing arts day and like, selling yourself in terms of like your fitness business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say yes and no. I think the difference is when you are in the performing arts world, I suppose maybe like even for actors, dancers, singers, maybe not singers, you're more of a blank canvas, which I know I'm not really a blank canvas kind of person, but it's like if you're supposed to be the powerful, strong one, you step into that role. Yeah. If it's the sexy one, you might step into that role. If it's the pop, fun, Disney, cutesy, young, you might step in. So you can turn it on and off. Yeah. Whereas I think the difference when you're creating and cultivating your own personal brand is it shouldn't feel like that. It shouldn't feel like a mask or a role that you're putting on and off. It should hopefully feel like an authentic, but maybe a little bit more articulated version of yourself. It shouldn't feel like, oh, okay, I'm going to be trying to be like that kind of coach, and you're putting on a mask.
I get you.
Slightly different.
So when you like started out, like how much did you focus on the business side of things? Obviously, you're training women and doing all this amazing things, but like the back end side of it, like how literate was you with the business side of things?
Yeah, I think I've always been quite a maths data like brain, that's kind of more where my brain goes. Like I can remember stats, and I like data, I like graphs, I like things to be shown, for example, like 3 out of 5 or 50%. I'm like, okay, these things work well in my brain, visuals. So very quickly I could do the maths and go, this isn't necessarily going to be what I need it to be. And again, depending on what people's goals are, if you do the maths about how much time you have as a solo person to be in the room with people, if you've got one person, one-to-one, or even if you've got a class with 30 people, depending on what it is, I felt like this isn't necessarily going to be what I want it to be forever, but I'm loving it right now. So from a business perspective, I think financially, I was kind of like, okay, this works right now. But very quickly I was like, what can I do alongside it, which is not something completely different, but this is where I kind of encourage people to think about verticals. So within the industry, what are the verticals that you are good at, that you enjoy? And so that's where you can kind of layer on top and do, maybe 4 things, but you're still your core thing, whether that's, like I said, being a Pilates coach, a running coach, your core thing stays the same, but you can layer so many things around that to support you from a business perspective.
So okay, that leads us nicely onto diversifying. What things have you done, and what are you doing now?
Oh my God, where do I start? So what things have I done? So I worked with sports apparel brands. So brands like Adidas or Under Armour or On Running. And when you work with apparel brands, it could be that you're doing photo shoots, campaigns for them. As I mentioned, I did in-store campaigns. Could be that you're testing product and giving feedback. So you might test a certain shoe before it's out, or you might test certain products and give feedback on the performance of the apparel. Or you might be a brand ambassador. So that can look different across different brands. But I was a brand ambassador for Adidas for 3 years. And that was an incredible opportunity.
How did that come about?
It came about because I think, as I mentioned, I was doing content. They originally had asked me to do a Facebook, I think they called it like partner workouts. So there was me and somebody else, and there were 15-second clips where you'd get like 10 of them, and it'd say, grab a friend, partner workout. So we started with that. And I remember on that shoot day being like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I'm doing a shoot with Adidas, this is so cool. And I remember just having so many ideas. I was so enthusiastic. I was just like, we could do this. And I was only there really to just okay, here's the clothes, here's the exercises. They had somebody there to say what to do, but I was like, well, we should try this, we should try this. That's who I am. And maybe naively as well, I hadn't really worked with brands before, so I didn't necessarily feel that like, just stay in your... I just was like, let's try everything. So the photographer was like, oh, wicked, you know, it's great to have someone on set who's got all this energy, and we did some of my ideas and they worked out well. And so somebody else who was there, I think, representing the brand was like, okay, we need to, who is this person? Let's you know, work with her more. And so I think that also, again, going back to that piece we just talked about of actually not putting on a mask and being who you really are, being who you really are is, you don't know what opportunities are going to come. And for example, if there's a brand that's looking for someone who is very zen and calming and powerful, and that's not me. They're not going to pick me. So if I pretend to be that, it's not going to work out. It's going to show as well. It's not going to work out. So I think looping back, that's one of the things. So I've worked with brands, worked with apparel brands. I have done a lot of writing. So I enjoy writing. It started with blogging, then writing articles for publications, then writing, I guess, longer form content like newsletters, then writing a book, now writing a second book. So writing is something that I enjoy, sharing my ideas that way. I do a lot of speaking. So I do motivational speaking, and I speak to corporate employees. So I might go into an organisation where they have 500 employees and they're doing an off-site day, and I might be there to talk to them about high performance or about well-being, performance well-being, and how these things cross over from all areas from our health, so sleep, nutrition, physical movement, all of these things. How do they impact our performance at work, our ability to manage our energy, to manage stress, all of these kind of things. So I do talks like that, or motivational talks about how the athlete mindset can apply to ordinary people, and I include myself when I say I'm an ordinary person trying to do extraordinary things. So I talk about the athlete mindset. Oh gosh, what else do? I do brand advisory now. So I advise some brands. I do consultancy. I've worked in a fitness technology startup. I worked there for 4 years and ended up being the director of innovation there. I work with automobile company. It's so varied now that you almost kind of think, what do you do? But I think in reality, what I do now is I connect the dots, as I said, between different industries, between well-being, which as we know it's no longer an isolated industry, to everyone who wants to perform at their best. Whether you want to perform at your best on the track, or perform at your best in the boardroom, perform at your best as a parent, that's what I now help people to do.
So when you first started out, could you have seen what you'd be doing now?
Come on. No way. No way. No, even now, some of the things I end up doing, I'm kind of like, you have that moment, you know, there's been a few times, I'd say in the last 3 years, where maybe I was presenting to Microsoft, for example, and some of the speakers that were presenting before me, I'd think, how am I here? How am I, you know, listening to some of these incredible authors or thought leaders that I think are just incredible, and I'm there on the same stage as them. And so, no, I could never have envisioned so many of the opportunities that I get to do. But what I would say is that now that I am doing them and have been for years, is that when I look around, I can see actually there's so much that we can do, all of us, anyone, I suppose. I think it's just about really figuring out, you don't have to do everything. That's something I think important to say, because now a lot of people think they have to do, okay, I have to have social media presence, I have to do a podcast, I have to do these things. You don't. I have to teach on retreats, you don't. But I think that it just keeps going back to that willingness to say yes, willingness to learn, willingness to be honest and say, I've never done this before, but I'm willing to try. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to say, oh yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing. You can say, I'll figure it out. You know?
So how did you navigate all these relationships with brands, with corporates? I guess that wasn't something you've done before. So how did you kind of manage the contracts, the negotiations, all those kind of things that kind of people don't see?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think as well as a snapshot, obviously this conversation isn't, 12 years of my life. Yeah. It's trying to condense it down. So it does feel like a big leap. But so now I do have, management team, have agents, they manage those contracts, as you said, things like negotiating fees, organising logistics, the legal contracts. There's a lot of things in a 16-page document that you might not know what it all is. But when it first started, I would do my best to liaise with people on email, to be as responsive as possible, to try and I suppose always not just about just doing a good job when you're in the room with the person, but being conscientious, following up with people. And I think that I was also willing to ask other people. So I'd ask friends, maybe they were in different industries, and I'd say, oh, what do you think about this? How much should I charge for that? Does that sound about right? Because it's so great.
Yes,
there's so many things that people don't know, and they don't ask, or they don't talk about, or they'll say, some people say to me, should I be getting paid for this? Because I'm doing it for free.
Yeah.
Yes, the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
So I think I had to ask other people and kind of tentatively figure it out, and then share with other people.
Yeah.
As I say,
and what point did you know that I need a team now?
I don't know if I knew I needed a team. I think I don't know how it came to be. I think I was working with someone else who their agents, managers were there, and I kind of thought, oh, okay. And I talked to them about, okay, how does it work, the relationship, that kind of thing. And then I think, maybe went and had a meeting with them, and I don't think there was kind of a point where I was like, I need an agent. Do you know what I mean? And I think especially, as I said, how the world's kind of moved on even further, so many people are able to manage those relationships with brands, with PR companies. Yeah. There's people in the middle who can facilitate. People might think, okay, a brand like On Running, they might think, well, who's the go-to person? But, there are PR agencies that kind of work in between and work with these brands as well. So I don't necessarily think people need to focus straight away on saying, how do I get an agent? Yeah. What I would focus more is the things we've discussed around what they are doing, why they want to do it, who they help, all of those things, putting those things together.
Yeah, so would you advise that someone, not that they go looking, but like, is that opportunities that just come to them, they just carry on doing what they're doing and wait for those opportunities to arrive, or can someone go out and get those brand partnerships?
I definitely think it's a case of both, but the first one has to be there. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? So the first one has to be there. It's like you have to be doing the thing. Yeah. Talking about the thing, photographing the thing. You have to be doing the thing. Yeah. Doing what it is that you want to get paid to do, you have to be doing it. Yeah. And just keep doing it. Do it consistently. Do it well. Because people talk. Relationships grow organically sometimes. People recommend people. Industries are smaller than you think. The amount of people who've said to me, oh, hi Adrienne, such and such recommended you, or you did this event last month with my friend at this thing, they said we should get in touch with you. That happens to me over and over and over. So I think do a good job first and foremost, and then beyond that, you can't necessarily just sit back and say, well, I'm doing a good job.
They're all going to come to
on,
me.
Sometimes you've also got to go out to things, go to events, go to other people's events and support them, show up. If you want to send messages to people on LinkedIn, on Instagram, all of those things, I'm here for it. Yeah. I suppose that's how we established a relationship, right? You reached out to me and then we met, and that's how it goes. And I think people, a bit of both really, but just please make sure you're doing the thing. Yeah. Often people say, oh, I want to be talking about this and doing this, but they're not actually doing it yet.
Yeah. So you've had a really great career so far, which is going to continue to. But were there any kind of times where there were any kind of obstacles, you wasn't so well, you hit any kind of barriers when you was kind of on the way up?
Of course, yes. And I think one that people maybe, don't talk about as much is motherhood. I think, being a mother, managing family life, I think having pregnancy issues, having miscarriages, people don't really talk about. And I know that if you're doing a job which involves you to be in your physical body, it can feel... it can feel like your identity is tied up within your body. So that was an experience that I went through, which was so difficult. And I feel like I felt so alone in that experience at the time, because maybe I just felt at the time I didn't want to discuss it openly, because I wasn't at a stage where I was ready to hear people's opinions. And so I kind of just wanted to keep it, to myself, but therefore that was difficult. So I think, throughout my career, I definitely think that was a moment or a long period, I suppose, like a year of it was difficult for lots of reasons, as you can imagine. So that was one. There's probably lots, but I think managing your own, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm someone who naturally wants to say yes. Yeah. I want to say, yes, I can do it. Yes, I'll be there. Yes, I'll come and support your thing. Yes, I can do that. Yes, you can't say yes to everyone. because you start saying yes to anything says no to something else. So saying yes, I'll be there means no, I won't be doing that. So I think I find that I'm getting much better at it now, but I found that difficult for so long. And I was doing everything, being everywhere with everyone. And it's not to say don't do that ever, but it's not sustainable. So I think there were challenging times when I probably was trying to do everything, be everywhere, say yes, say yes, say yes. And as a result, you start to feel like you're kind of not doing anything well. You know, you're not really giving 100 to 12 things. You can't.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah.
And what has been like your biggest wins? Something more positive.
Oh, biggest wins. I mean, honestly, I know people now, everybody just runs these crazy ultra marathons and everyone just runs for 20 days on end. But for me, as a Jamaican sprinter, for me to have completed marathons, I've never found it easy. I don't think I ever will find it easy. Every time I am training for a marathon, I just think, oh, am I actually going to be able to do it? And every time I complete a marathon, I feel like a hero. Do you know what I mean? I feel like, oh my gosh, and I know there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people crossing the line with me, but I feel like I know what it's taken. I know the dedication I've put in. I know the months, the cold weather runs. I know all the things I've done, and I, try and raise money and awareness for other things when I do those races. So some of the wins have been completing races that I never thought I'd be able to complete, traveling and going to places that, I mean, I'll be honest, I did not get any opportunities to travel growing up. So I grew up with a single mother. We didn't have passports. We didn't go abroad. I mean, we went to the park in the school holidays. And now I feel like I'm making up for lost time. I have so many wonderful opportunities to travel the world. I've done races in Barbados. I've done races in San Francisco. I've done photo shoots in South Africa, because of my work. It's taken me around the world, literally around the world.
Amazing. So, in terms of your career, what would be your biggest high?
What do you mean? What I enjoy the most?
No, it could be anything. At what point did you think this? I'm a success.
Oh, that's a whole new word. I don't know about that. I don't know. When you said biggest highs, I'm thinking, what do I enjoy the most? So maybe my way I'm defining succeeding is enjoyment. If you're enjoying something and you're loving it and you're thinking, I would do this for free and I get paid for this, then I think those things are always when I'm standing on a stage and I'm speaking to people. I might be speaking to a room of 10 people or a room of 300, but there's a different energy to me. I love looking out, seeing the faces, sharing a message or word of encouragement where I'm talking to that room of people and doing the Q&A. It sounds so silly, but answering people's questions and feeling as though it's valuable and it's immediate. You get the immediate impact. You can see the person you're talking to. Whereas I think during the pandemic, and obviously we do so many things online or so many things where, we're recording this conversation. We can't see who's listening. I can't see if someone's saying, yeah, that's a good point. I think I really like the immediate gratification, I suppose, of being in the room with people. So those are some of the high moments in terms of emotional high status feeling that I enjoy. But to your question about success, I think success is different in every season of your life. I know it sounds like a bit of a cop-out, but there's been seasons of my life where success means one thing, and the seasons of my life where success means something completely different.
So for someone who's starting out their fitness journey, their fitness career journey, what one advice would you give them for someone who's just kind of starting out and they want to be the next Adrienne, My advice, if they're at the start of their fitness journey right now, then it's exciting. I think there's so many things going on, there's so many opportunities. So what would my advice be? As we've discussed, figuring out who you are, what you like, what you don't like. We all have to do sometimes parts of our jobs that we don't like, but I think if you can do less of the things you don't like and more of the things you do, that's going to be good. I would say find a little tribe, find other people. They don't have to be necessarily doing exactly what you're doing, but I do not think that I would have had a fraction of the success that I've had without the people, the network, the kind of, like I said, serendipitous effect of recommendations. Somebody saying, Adrienne, can you come and do this? Me saying, oh, I know who you should ask. I'm going to recommend this person. I recommend and I connect so many people. And when you do that, you're not missing out. You're not going, oh, they're taking my opportunity.
Yeah, no way. You are adding value. You're helping two people. So that's two people who want to help you back.
Yeah.
And it's not a debt to be paid. But I think if you can say, okay, I can help this person out because maybe I can go and, you know, do some coaching there, or I can help this person out because I know that whatever, you can figure it out, you know, whether it's barter exchange, they can help you, you can help them. Do it. Do it. Because if you're at the start of your career, you will not do it on your ones. You will not do your entire career journey on your own. You will need other people, and they will need you, and it'll be more enjoyable. Like, you know, having a crew, having people that you can message and go, hey, do you want to go to this thing? Let's go. Sign up to races together.
And what would you say, like, has been one of the reasons why so many people don't make it? Because, like, the career span of a wellness professional is sometimes less than 12 months. So what would you say would be like the pitfalls that people kind of need to kind of look out for?
Okay, that's interesting. You could probably tell me. I suppose maybe because it is physical, and it is depending on where you are. You know, if you're in a city like London where you might be teaching loads of classes back to back, you might start to physically feel like it's too much. So I think that if that is the case, you've got to look at how many hours can I physically coach people or coach and be, you know, doing what I'm doing and not burn out, not feel exhausted. I think that might be maybe potentially a reason. I think accepting the industry and the highs and lows, and the fact that as human beings, we have cycles, and we know the word motivation. We know that clients might not always do what we want them to do. And I think that sometimes that might frustrate people, because they might go, well, you know, I work so hard and I plan all these things, and I just want, you might want it for them more than they want it for them. And I think as a coach, I used to have to accept that, because I'd be like, I could see the potential. I'd be like, right. And then, you know, if I saw a client twice a week, that's only 2 hours of their entire week. In between, you're not with them. You're not, you know, I used to end up trying to be like a therapist. You can't be, you know, change their mindset, change their diet, change their life. Maybe you can in time. But I think maybe having boundaries and expectation setting for yourself, if you're someone who's very empathetic, you might find yourself, that you care a lot, and that's quite...
I think for me personally, like when I started that, it was for the passion of training and coaching people. But then that thing that kind of weighed me down was like, I've got all the other stuff that I've got to be really conscious of, like the business side of things, you know, the finances, the managing that, you know, the marketing, how to market yourself, branding yourself. And I feel like a lot of people get into it for the passion of, you know, they think they're going to get a celebrity client, they're going to have loads of clients and train all these people, but they're not factoring in that you're actually a business owner. You are your business. And coming to you is like, how important is personal branding to you?
I think in this modern world, I think it's essential. I think anyone that says that it isn't, unless you want to, if you want to work for an establishment or an organisation where you have to kind of be a cog in that part and play that part, which those things exist, and they're great. You know, there's benefit to that. Sometimes people go, okay, this is the role. You have to come in. You have to wear these clothes. You have to do it like this. This is our kind of way. And some people really enjoy that, because it, as you just said, it kind of doesn't come with all of that other burden. You can just clock on, clock off. But if you're more entrepreneurial and you want to maximise on different opportunities within the health and wellbeing industry, then I think personal brand is essential. I think you have to, as I feel like I'm repeating myself again and again, but be specific. Vague doesn't cut it, you know, it doesn't. There's so many, I guess, different areas within health, within fitness, within wellbeing. What is it that you are excited about? So I'm thinking of examples of a friend who's very technical. She's a runner and she's a very technical coach. So she's the person who's going to look at your gait analysis and talk to you about the technicality of the trainer. She's going to talk to you about one specific exercise to try and correct an imbalance. She's very technical, and some people like working with trainers like that, and some people don't. Some people prefer something different. So if you're the technician, know you're the technician. Make that your thing, own it. Create content that adds value to other people. If you're not the technician, don't think, oh, I've got to be really technical and I've got to talk about, you know, stride and gait. And if that's not your thing, if you're the person that's like, you know what, I'm a motive. I'm going to talk to you about the music, the rhythm. I'm going to talk to you about the motivation, the feeling, the strength. Fine, be that person, be the poet, be whatever it is. But I think that hopefully would help people to understand, okay, yes, there's a business side. And for that, I would say, discipline.
Yeah.
You have to be disciplined. It's like any other thing. It's just the way you are when you train for a race or when you were studying to become a coach. Apply that same discipline and you'll make your life easier, not harder. You know what I mean? Like put in that 1 hour a day, that 90 minutes a day where you go, this is my admin time, this is my email time, this is my invoice time, this is, you know, paying things. Do it and do it small and often. Don't leave it all and then go, oh my gosh, end of the year tax return, where's all my receipts for the year? Come on. Like make it easier for yourself by doing discipline. And I know no one wants to hear that word, but
well, you say you're working on your book at the moment. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I don't actually think I can, which is so annoying. It's so boring people say that, but as soon as I can, I will. All I'd say is that discipline that I just said, that word, I'm having to apply that to myself right now because writing by myself in solitude is not necessarily my favourite thing to do. But I have to do that to be able to get to the part which I love, which is sharing the book and talking about the book. And
then beyond the book, what are like your goals over the next few years? What do you plan to do?
Well, I love consulting and working with fitness and technology startups. I love seeing people's ideas, looking at their pitch decks, and then helping them story tell and say, okay, who is this product for? They need to raise money. And, you know, sadly, VC funding, as we know, doesn't always flow to women and to women of colour. So I'm always keen to help people in the industry who've got ideas that require more than just, you know, the capital that they have. So they need to raise money. So I enjoy working with those people and helping them storytell, helping them refine their idea and their product, and then go out, pitch it to whoever they need to and get the money. So I'm enjoying that. And I think I want to continue doing that and encouraging as many people as I can.
Wow. So like your career has just taken so many turns and like it's amazing. And we didn't even touch on like the Power Hour podcast as well.
I know. Well, I said I do the podcast every single week and have done. It has now reached 4 million downloads.
Wow.
So that's another way to reach and encourage people.
So is there an arm of your business that you prefer?
I think the in the room things, in-person events, events, whether that's, you know, I do live podcast recording sometimes, I do speaking engagements, I do brand events. I did one, 2 weeks ago with a room full of women. As I said, it's not always women. In fact, to be honest, next month I'm doing a lot with a brand and everyone in the room will be men. It'll be all men because it's in tech and that's typically how it is. But I think in-person things is just where I get my energy.
Oh, great. Well, thank you, Adrienne, for joining us for this chat. It's like truly inspiring to hear, your journey and how you've kind of navigated to where you are now. And, I know this is going to be inspiring to someone who is at the beginning of their journey, just to see kind of where you've gone. So really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.